I'd like to call the meeting to order. Phyllis, if we could have roll call, please.
Craig Koshaw.
Here.
Bill Carbach.
Here.
Ken Meyer.
Here. You were all emailed a copy of our minutes from our January 2nd meeting. If you've had a chance to review the minutes, I would look for a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from January 2nd. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you. First up this evening, we have Mike Hendricks from American Structure Point here. Mike wants to address us and go over the scoring for the waste treatment plant and who was selected to do the work. Yeah, please. Thank you, because we do record the meetings. You'll have to turn it on. It's on the top, the red button on the top.
I think you have to hold it down for 2 seconds, and then a light will flick. There you go.
Hello?
Yep.
So this is Mike Hendricks. Thank you, Mike, for coming up this evening on this beautiful, warm, balmy evening.
Yeah, it's not a bad drive, so I'm happy to do it. Thank you for allowing me to have a moment of your time this evening, Mayor and Board. As you remember, on November 7th, this Board approved moving forward with requests for qualifications from contractors for the wastewater treatment plant clarifier project. On December 18th, the 3 contractors, each of which were at the mandatory pre-proposal meeting at the plant, each submitted proposals of their qualifications for the job. On January 8th, the Decatur staff had reviewed those qualifications and scored those. Each vendor, the summary sheet has been provided for you to see, and then each of the score sheets have been turned in to Phyllis, the clerk treasurer, for keeping as part of the record of the process. Based on scoring, Kokosing received the highest score, and what we're asking for you to do today is approve the scoring and allow us to start, along with Ann at the treatment facility, to start negotiating the final design and coming up with that guaranteed max price, which in turn then will, the contract will come back before the board.
For the record, there were 3 companies that submitted. There was Bowen was one company, Kokosing, I'm glad you said it that way because I thought it was Kokosing, and Thieneman were the 3 companies that submitted. You said that the staff did the scoring. How many people were on the...
There was 5
people from the staff. And Kevin, were you part of the scoring?
Yes.
Who all was on the scoring?
Me and Ann, Berlin, Don, Carrie.
Okay, you actually have their scorecards.
Yep.
Say it again. You, Ann, Berlin, Don, and Carrie. Okay, and Carrie's here this evening. Okay, so, and they scored them for 6 different things that they looked at: background and qualifications, references, technical approach, project implementation, financial approach, and guarantee management. And each of the 5 then gave them a score, and each score counted for a certain percentage of the overall vote. And as Mike said, Kokosing was the highest score with a total score of 489 points. Thieneman, how do we say it? They had 461 and Bowen 434 points. So for the record, those are the facts of how the scoring went and who participated in the scoring. And then Mike has also brought with him this evening a request for qualification from providers of a guaranteed savings contract notice of acceptance. And Tim, I'll let you look this over, but it says the City of Decatur. You want to read that out aloud, Tim?
Says the City of Decatur is pleased to inform you that based on the submitted request for qualifications, Coco Singh Industrial is the staff-selected contractor. We look forward to working with you throughout this project. Please consider this your notification to begin to work the City of Decatur wastewater treatment staff, as well as to begin the City of Decatur wastewater treatment staff, as well as American Structure Point, city's engineer, to finalize the design and develop a guaranteed maximum price. And it would be signed by the Board of Works.
Okay.
So basically, what you're doing is you're accepting the recommendation to proceed with acceptance of Coco Singh as the highest scored contractor who submitted a request for qualifications, and now you sit down with that entity and negotiate a maximum price for the project.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, Mike, are you familiar with all three of these?
We've worked with all
All
three
three of
firms.
them?
The contractors are all
Are all-
very highly qualified
Are they?
contractors. We've done some recent work with, well, all three, I guess. So you really couldn't go wrong with any one. They are all qualified through the state for going through the guaranteed savings contract, so they have met those qualifications as well. They had to do that in order to prepare qualifications for this project. But yeah, they're all highly qualified contractors for this work.
And you'd be comfortable working with Coco Singh?
While I,
Yes, we've partnered with all these on multiple other jobs throughout the state and outside the state.
Good.
I received 4 or 5 letters of support for Coco Singh from their staff. And I didn't realize, I've never heard of any of these companies really, but Coco Singh has several people from Adams County that work for them. And their staff who, you know, they sent me letters. I was intended to forward them to Ann, but I didn't even know when they were doing the scoring. I didn't forward them to her until after they'd already done the scoring. So these letters had no bearing on the scoring whatsoever, but all the employees had nothing but great things to say about the company itself and how they care about their employees, and all these employees were hoping that they could get this job so that rather than having to drive an hour, hour and a half to wherever they were working, to be able to drive 10, 15 minutes and work local. So
And do we have any other municipalities that we can check, or the mayor can check on, that you can give us to find out?
Kevin, do you know of any?
If they're satisfied with their work?
They all put references in their packet.
Okay.
Okay. So as you graded them, Carrie and Don and Kevin, you saw all
Each one
the
had a packet that we had to go through.
Did you happen to check with any other municipalities, Don? Just curious.
We never called any of them a day out.
Need a motion to
I understand that, but they would put that,
Coco Singh.
they would put that down just
And they
as
should-
a reference.
We have Bill on the scoring, the background and qualifications was part of the scoring, references were part of the scoring, so.
How many bad references
That
do
was
you
covered
have?
by the people.
That's what I mean. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
We did a project in Plymouth.
Yeah.
They were very happy with it.
Yeah, Plymouth.
Because we did a,
I mean, I don't mean to
they
be,
did the water and wastewater. Just wastewater.
like Mr. Koshaw said, how many
bad references do you normally
You normally don't put those in your packet.
Bottom line is, we had our people look it over, that they're happy with it. I'd like to make a motion that we accept,
Coco Singh.
Coco Singh is the highest score for a guaranteed savings contract. I'll second that, yeah.
I have a motion and a second to accept the request to go with Coco Singh on the clarifier project at the waste treatment plant. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you. And Mike, you just wants to sign this, and we can run a copy of this, or?
You can just email that.
Okay, we will. We'll go ahead and sign it tonight while we're here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Stay warm out there.
You ever put a bad reference in yours, Coco? I've never had.
Be careful, okay? This me as
want a binder wash?
Go on. Pass that down and then pass it back for Phyllis. Okay, Lenny and Mike, come on up.
I think it's just one, just the one, I think.
Well, the Decatur Police Department, this coming Monday, they'll be taking the two newest hires down to Perth for their day-long physical and regimen that they do down there. And so we're only, after we get these two in uniform and get them riding, we're only then one short of being fully staffed. And Lenny and Mike, they took the applications, they did the testing, they got it down to 3 candidates, and last evening they interviewed those 3 candidates, and this morning they came and met with me, and I'm just going to read what Lenny and Mike have to say here. It says, Decatur Board of Works, Deputy Police Chief Mike Mahan and I interviewed 3 candidates last night at the Police Department to fill the final 3rd police officer opening. The candidates interviewed were Seth Cole, Dennis Bosler, and Corbin Sanderson. Before the interviews, extensive background checks were done on each candidate by Decatur police detectives. The candidates also successfully passed the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy physical fitness standards and written tests. After much discussion, after the interviews, Deputy Chief Mahan and I agreed to make a recommendation to the Board of Works to select Seth Cole as our new Decatur police officer. Thank you, Chief Lenny Corral. So, that's your request tonight, to come to request to the Board of Works to proceed and make a phone call to hire Seth Cole. Seth Cole?
Colwell.
Colwell?
Colwell.
C-O-L-W-E-L-L. He's 27 years old, lifelong resident of Decatur, graduated from Belmont High School in 2008. After high school, he served his country by joining the United States Marine Corps. He did tours of duty in Africa and Afghanistan. On July 16th, 2016, he was honorably discharged from the Marine Corps, holding the rank of E4 Corporal. In 2014, he married his wife, Rachel, and he has a daughter, Addison, and they reside here in the city limits of Decatur. So, without us dictating what they should do, I think that the two of them are qualified to make this selection, and I would look for a motion to accept their recommendation.
Motion to accept their recommendation. I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same. There you go, guys. You got anything you want to say?
No, it was a long process, but we're glad to get it done. And then, like I said, next Monday, we'll take the 2 officers down, Dan Hunter and Lucas Rumschlag. And then Mike is going to try to call them. Maybe we can get Seth in there also.
That'd be great.
So that'll be a big step for us. And then wait on the results and Perth to accept them and get them started.
And give us a couple of updates. I know you told me that you have a school resource officer set to go to a course.
Yes, Officer Bussey, the nearest one, believe it or not, is in Des Moines, Iowa.
Well,
And fortunate for us, the cost saving, that he has a brother that lives in Des Moines, Iowa. He'll be staying there, which is 10 minutes from the training facility. So we're going to let him drive my squad car down there, so that'll save tremendous on hotel and food and stuff. Things are going well. We're developing a website for Decatur PD free of charge by a IT person here in Decatur. And Phyllis, tonight I got that second quote on the new firearms, so I'll get that to you tomorrow. So we'll be making a recommendation to buy new firearms at the next Board of Works hearing.
You're talking about the ones they carry while on duty.
Correct.
Not, yeah.
Yeah, the off-duties were Glock 26, the new ones, we're going to go with Glock 17s.
Doesn't mean a thing to me. Gun's a gun to me. And K9?
I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you about that. K9, school starts February 23rd. So Jim Franzi from the Sheriff's Department, who's a well-known K9 handler, he's going to go down with Corey February the 1st and select the dog. and then he'll get used to his dog and then start. We're kind of shuffling some shifts, some guys around to cover shifts, so...
Yeah, as fast as we can try to get up to speed, we're taking a step back by sending everybody out for training.
Yep. So it's all coming in place. Just he'll go down for select his dog, and then I got a hold of Kelly Sikafus. She recommended I have the canine dog owner down there to send an invoice to her. We got $8,000 waiting for us to pay for the canine.
From Drug Free Adams County, correct?
Correct.
That's great.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. But we're doing that. I've been getting with Melissa Norby. We are going to apply for the USDA grant. Not only to get new bulletproof vests, but also tactical vests for the officers who desperately want those. Those tactical vests will take a lot of the equipment off their
Right.
waist onto their chest.
Yep.
And I just got a email today from a Narcan company. They're going to come down and give us free training sometime in February so officers can start carrying Narcan on them.
Rather than in the car.
Correct.
How much more, I mean, just every minute counts when you're on a call like that.
Time is the essence anymore on first responders.
Yep, yep. Okay, anything else? You keeping Mike in line?
He's been a blessing. Everything I recommend or go, I usually get his approval and kind of keeps me on the straight and narrow, so we've been working well together.
Good.
I think the transition from chief to chief has gone very smoothly. And ex-chief Cook has offered his assistance on anything we need.
Yeah.
So it's been going real well.
I've heard nothing but positive comments, but it's only been a few weeks, but we
We
got a long way to go, but nothing but positive
Phyllis has
comments.
been a great help too, so.
Yeah, Wendy, yeah.
And her staff.
Yeah, won't it be nice to Wendy? She carries the pocketbook, you know, so. Phyllis. All right, any other questions, guys?
This last grant from Melissa for the 2 police officers, did we ever get any feedback on that?
We did not get it.
We did.
Fort Wayne got 7 of them.
Well,
We didn't get any. No other community in this area got anything. And that same grant has just come out again. And Lenny wants Melissa to pursue it, and she will. And we're going to put together another application. Only this time, we're going to do everything we can to get more people in our corner. We're going to write our congressmen and both state and federal and senators and do a little more pushing this time. So we'll see what happens. Hey, you never know. Why Fort Wayne got 7?
exactly.
And none of the area communities didn't get anything, I don't know, but it is what it is.
Mhm.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have a letter from Les for...
Tim, does the mayor realize that we would not cost me a special meeting?
What's that?
Does the mayor know the way we do it now costs me a special meeting?
No, I didn't know that. I'll make sure he's aware of it.
Okay. I mean, it's okay to do it this way. I mean, I like it, but
I know.
it digs into my beer money.
There's no special reason. I'm with you. I'm catching on down here. All right, next thing up, I have a letter that we need to make a matter of record from Fire Chief Les Markle. As of 12/27/2017, Heath Follenkamp has completed his 1-year probationary time period and is requesting to remove Heath from his probationary time slot and to receive a salary of a first-class firefighter. And did we already approve this? We just need to make this a matter of record, or are we approving this tonight?
I think I have.
It is our desire to remove Heath from
Yeah.
probationary status. So,
Yeah, we're just making a matter of record.
Just making this a
really,
matter of
because
record.
After a year, unless it's happy with him, so.
So moved.
second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. And the last thing I have, Tim may have a whole list of things, I don't know, but Tim will tell us about who we're going to use for our bond counsel for the water project, and that would be Tom Pittman. So if you want to...
Yeah, Tom Pittman is with Martin Thornburg. Tom was appointed as bond counsel for the redevelopment commission some years ago, and he's been great to work with. He oftentimes will respond to questions that I've posed where he doesn't bill for it. He just provides some insight into certain things that we're dealing with, and it's been very helpful. So after talking with the mayor, I'm very comfortable working with Tom. I contacted him, and he forwarded an engagement letter. That's something that's required and strongly encouraged under the rules of professional conduct. It lays out the scope of work. It lays out concerns or advice regarding conflicts, the fee arrangement, and it's the nature of this bond issue is like any bond issue. It's bond counsel is the party that basically makes sure and issues an opinion letter that these qualify under the Internal Revenue Code for tax exempt status, which is critical to marketing the bonds, because if you don't do that, you're going to pay a much, much higher interest rate. So it's not cheap for bond counsel. I mean, I've done a number of bond issues over the years with various bond counsel, but they incur a significant risk by serving in that capacity. So in the case of the water bonds, and this is something that will come out in more greater detail with Jennifer and Craig's presentation, but the bonding is anticipated to be done in two series, one in 2018 and then a second in 2020. So Tom broke down his fee based on the two different bond issues. The second is a lesser fee because because the bond ordinance, for example, will deal with the issuance of both. So we're not duplicating all of the costs related to the second bond issue. It's included in the first. The cost that he indicated that they will serve as bond counsel for the first bond issue is $32,500, and the second was $25,000. The bond issues, if the Board of Works and Council approve going forward, I think are each near or in excess of $9 million. So they're sizable bond issues, but the nature of the projects that have to be funded are pretty significant projects for the city of Decatur as well.
What's the guy's name?
Tom Pittman.
Pittman?
Yes, P-I-T-M-A-N. And then in my capacity, I have to serve as local counsel. I do a similar engagement letter. Typically, the local counsel charges half of the bond counsel fee, so that's basically what I would charge.
$16,250 phase one?
Yep. $12,500 for the second. So, and again, I have to issue an opinion letter, which I'm willing to do, but it's a big responsibility. So that's why local councils charge what they do.
Who'd you say Tom's with?
Barnes and Thornburg.
So
We need a motion?
yeah,
And I would make it subject to council approval to go forward
so
with.
bring it up at the council meeting now also. All right.
Yep. But yeah, there should be a motion to authorize Ken to sign the engagement letters.
I'll make a motion for Ken to sign the engagement letters for fees for bond counsel, Tom Pittman from Barnes and Thornburg, and also Tim Baker for representing the city of Decatur for phase one, phase two of the water project, if council approves. Second.
A motion and a second to accept the engagement letter from Tom Pittman and also from Tim Baker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Thank you. That'll happen. Did you have anything else?
I did a couple of things. Bill had raised a question about the enforcement of cutting grass and putting a lien on the property.
I don't have that information yet.
No, I've got some information. There's two statutes, but Indiana Code 36-1-6-2 is the statute that allows for us to put a lien on the property and actually collect it as back taxes. I think some of the county officials questioned whether we could do that for grass cutting, and I think what they were looking at is weeds and rank vegetation, which is a different statute. It too allows for placement of a lien and collecting as back taxes for that, but we're talking about a little bit different situation here. Now, granted, a lot of yards that are mowed probably have weeds and vegetation in it as well, but
Well, our ordinance,
the ordinance
It does.
allows for both,
it doesn't
so,
specify either one,
yeah, it does. It specifies both
as one.
so what I'll do is I'll give you information, you can take it over to the county, and if that's still an issue, then I need to talk to them. Okay? Second thing, Lenny, you brought up, he's not here now. Okay. Lenny brought up a question about disposal of the bikes. I talked to Jody Woods down at AIM. There's a statute, Indiana Code 5-22-22, that deals with selling of surplus property. If any one item has a value of more than $1,000 or collectively they have a value of over $5,000, then you have to either sell the property at a public auction or use an online auction. If it's less than that, then you can still do auctions, or you can do a public or private sale, and basically you'd advertise and take sealed bids on it, and you award it to whoever submits the highest bid for it. And there are some communities that will look at the value of the property, and some communities have adopted a resolution that basically says if the cost of sale would exceed the fair market value of the property that you're trying to dispose of, then you can treat it as worthless property and you can dispose of it either for salvage value. She didn't address the question that you had posed some time ago, Craig, about possibly donating it to a charitable entity. And I'll try to find out if that's an option. I would think if it's worthless property, we could probably by a resolution authorize that. I think that in this case, I'm guessing that these bikes are not in the best condition, that they've been in our possession for some time. If we're talking about a bike that was picked up in the last 30 or 60 days, I wouldn't sell that. I would think that you'd want to have them in our possession for at least 6 months or a year before they go on, and if they've gone unclaimed that long, then we'll dispose of them. So, I think the issue is what would a fair market value be? I don't think we have to get a written appraisal, but somebody that knows something about bikes ought to at least give us an idea of what the value of these things are, and we can go from there.
Okay.
Well, I can say one thing right now, no one bike is worth over $1,000, and the combination of all of them are less than $5,000.
I would say definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know, these get brought in because they're found, something
Right,
abandoned,
right.
and people just don't claim them.
Right.
Nobody claims them anymore.
Right.
Do you get calls of people who, my bike got stolen? Do you get those kind of calls?
Hardly those anymore. It's mostly people finding them. And nobody checks the police department to see if we've got a lot of...
Isn't that crazy? You'd think people would check.
I don't know if they're too cheap now or
That's
what's going
weed
on.
stuff.
Everything's disposable now these days.
I guess. I wanted to report on West Monroe Street sewer connections, but I need Jeremy. He says he's on his way here. Needless to say, he's been on the phone talking to a West Monroe Street resident. Don, do you have any idea how many have picked up? Two. Two have paid. And we had one, so only one new one thus far, and they have until the 20th?
How many weeks now?
9.
No,
Isn't it 9?
19, wasn't it?
no, the date is the 20th, I think. But how many homeowners were
I think
there?
it's 8.
7? 6 or 8?
8.
Well,
Yeah, there's more.
6 more. And if they haven't picked them up or paid for them by the 20th, then by court order, they will be ordered to pump and haul their sewage and cap their septic system. Can't believe these people aren't doing this. They've had plenty of time. Whatever. It is what it is. I have not had any calls from any of them. Obviously Jeremy has. He texted me at 5 after and said, I'll be there shortly, and then he texted again at 20 after and says, been on the phone with a West Monroe Street homeowner, so. So, Tim, you have anything else?
I'll bring this up at council as well, but two things. One, the first is for the Board of Works. We did meet with the county commissioners about the fringe zone, and the outcrop of that meeting was that they requested that we contact other communities that have established the fringe zone to see how they handle zoning in the fringe area and whether, how that is specifically, how does that address the ag uses within the fringe area. And so we'll be in touch with some other communities to see what we find out. I have found a couple of zoning ordinances. I think it was Logansport that specifically has an ag zoning classification in the fringe zone that spells out what can be done. To be honest, I'm not sure that there was a real warm reception to the idea. I think there's some real concerns on the part of the county officials as to how that will impact people. So we'll see what happens. The one thing that did come up is the possibility of if we do take over jurisdiction and we do have some type of zoning classification, perhaps we could limit certain types of use to prevent certain types of uses that would be undesirable to the city from being located near the city within the fringe zone. Density of animals per acre, that sort of thing. So that's a possibility if we do get jurisdiction, but the flip side of that is if the county chooses not to go forward with permitting the city to establish a fringe zone, and it does require county approval. The alternative would be to then ask the county to do two things. One, to put that type of restriction in its own zoning ordinance, so that in the immediate area around a municipality, you couldn't end up having an intensive livestock operation within a certain distance. The second thing would be to request that the county work with the city closely so that if there is a type of proposed use that comes before the County Plan Commission or the County BZA that potentially has an impact on the city, that the city be made aware of that request so that the city has the right to speak either in favor or opposed to what is being requested before the county body. And I think those two things, if they're not going to allow a fringe zone, at least would help protect the city in terms of certain uses from being located near the city that we would find to be undesirable.
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't overly excitedly accepted when we talked to them. We took that great big map that shows the area, and Doug Bauman kind of did most of the talking, I think, for the commissioners. But they just had a lot of concerns. Like if somebody lives in that zoning area, and say right now they have couple of horses, okay, and which we'd have to grandfather those in, but what if they wanted to get more horses?
Well, they wouldn't be in the city, though.
No, that we would enforce the code of ordinances for animals and building and everything.
In the fringe area?
Yep.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yep.
Yep.
They can burn trash in rural area. They wouldn't be able to burn trash. I mean, so if we could make the fringe zoning area so that it has exceptions for certain things. Really what we want it for is, you know, for construction purposes and for keeping our streams and whatever free of animal residue, for lack of a better word. That type of thing, you know, to avoid, does any...
Intensive livestock.
Intensive
livestock. Yeah, that's about
That's the biggest one.
the biggest one. We don't want somebody to come right up to us.
The biggest issue is intensive livestock. Why don't we just encourage the county to create a zoning fringe? It sounds like we don't have to jump through as many huge
Exactly.
hoops that they would...
And that's what we would request. If they don't want us to take jurisdiction, then we would ask them to at least consider amending their zoning ordinance to put some type of restrictions on certain types of use within a certain distance of the municipal limits. So,
Right.
Because by putting them in a fringe, we're not gaining any extra tax dollars or any benefit. All we're doing is trying to protect the edges of the city.
Well, if we put them in the fringe, it just increases Kurt's work.
mhm.
You know,
We don't have to...
we could
His
end...
workload and can keep the...
Yeah.
And Kurt's going to have code enforcement. They would really burden the code enforcement officer, I'll tell you. But he'll take over that.
Tim,
So
should we even forego trying to establish the fringe and go right to the,
Well,
trying to get
I
that?
think we could I think we could find out more information from other communities, but I sense that the county was reluctant to give up control. So if that's the case, then maybe we would try to work with the county to see what could be done to protect the city without establishing it. Yeah, the commissioners, actually, it's a combination. Planning Commission has to hold a public hearing, make a recommendation to the commissioners, and then the commissioners have to adopt an ordinance. So,
speak up.
yeah. The other thing that I'll bring up, and I'll do this too in the council meeting, but I get weekly updates from AIM regarding pending legislation. Just so you're aware, there's more legislation that's been introduced regarding small cell facilities and further restricting local communities' ability to control that. We'll see where that goes. Secondly, there's more legislation that's been introduced regarding making annexation more difficult.
How can it be more difficult?
They're making it. So, those are the two big things. There's some other legislation that affects the community, but those are two things that I'm keeping an eye on because...
Even if a person signs a remonstrance?
Well, and that's the thing. They're trying to do away with any remonstrances.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we have to...
So if somebody signs...
signs... And you can't
Right.
do anything about it.
Yeah.
Jeremy? Yeah. Do you have anything to report on West Monroe Street at all?
No, I just got off the phone with another homeowner. It's moving along. There's been a few more that's come in and picked up their station, but it's slow.
And they have through this week. That's
One area we don't want to do.
I'm on mailbox. I think it's going to happen. We're just having a little bit of problems.
well, it's going to happen. It's going to happen one way or another. Another thing I'll bring up is Nick Koss. I know he's not here to defend himself. He's down in warm Miami, Florida right now, probably. But, I don't know what we do with Cottonwood Estates. I don't know. The night that Nick Koss was here, and the pastor and Craig Anderson were both here, and they left with Nick Koss, and I believe they even went to the trailer of the young man that they are trying to help, and they looked at the floor, and Nick agreed to repair the floor, and I think he did. But that young man that lives in that trailer has never had heat. And the only reason he's never had heat is because he couldn't afford the down payment to NIPSCO. So the young man came up with the down payment because it was getting cold for NIPSCO. NIPSCO came out to turn the gas on, and the gas line from outside to the trailer was bad, so they wouldn't turn it on. So here's Nick Koss in Miami, Florida, and this young man who's paid his deposit running a trailer from Nick Koss and can't get any heat. So Nick it was promises. He was going to send his people over and get it taken care of. He couldn't believe the line was bad. A few days later, after Nick had promised something that would happen, still nothing happened. So Craig got a hold of me. I sent Nick Koss a text message, and he called me from, he said Chicago, that he just landed in Chicago for some other business, but he said he would drive to Decatur and personally see to it that this line got put in. Well, that was a couple of weeks ago, and as of today, there's still no gas line running to the house that's usable. Nick did buy the guy like 5 space heaters to put in this mobile home. But I guess my point is that here's a guy from Miami, Florida, who owns this property in Decatur, and really, in my mind, could care less about, I mean, I think it's all about him personally. And I don't know if we can put more heat on him through Jessica Bergdahl, if there's anything that Kurt can enforce. Kurt, you don't really know of anything, right?
I'd pretty much have to jump on Jessica's shirt tails in order to get in there. She's got more power at this point than I do.
When that guy sits there and tells us that every mobile home in that trailer park is livable, and if any of you have driven through there, you know otherwise. I mean, the guy is just, if he says he has titles for these homes, he doesn't. There's no way he has titles for all those homes. I mean, I don't know how we can put the pressure on him legally, but we need to start doing something. You know, whether it's, you know, if I send him a very straightforward letter and to say, okay, Nick, we're going to call you out here, you know, what's your bottom dollar for that thing, and we'll try to help you get it sold. I mean, we might be able to help him if it was a reasonable price, if it was what the value was actually worth and not what he talked to us about.
Kurt, didn't you say there was a state agency that regulates mobile home parks?
Well, the career I had before here, I did a lot of inspections up around Wakarusa, and those were basically house trailers. And house trailers today are governed by HUD regulations. And I guarantee you there's not one house trailer out there that would meet any HUD regulations. So I suppose just talking to Don, I don't know if there's any way we could reach out to HUD. I can get a hold of NTA, see if I can get the right contacts, and see, you know, IBTS making any audits on these facilities every year as far as the manufacturers. I might be able to make some phone calls, see if they can put me in touch with the right people, and see if there's anything that we can do at this point.
I think I would go with
I mean, we met with Nick a year ago, and we gave him kind of an ultimatum, and he gave us a list of things that he would do. He did those things. He really did. He did those things.
Well, he made attempts. Yeah.
He didn't do them in a nice way, but he put skirting on them, and he moved some of those dilapidated things from the front to the back. But
I know there's state agencies that, for example, regulate car dealerships. There's state agencies that regulate a lot of different things. When like Matt pointed out, how do we allow that type of complex to be within the city if we're talking about dilapidated buildings that we're going to go after that are vacant? Do we start taking each individual trailer as a separate entity and do the same thing at that trailer park? Or is there some, I mean,
They'll never,
I'll
they'll never
guarantee
have enough clientele to fill all those trailers. Never.
well, I guarantee you, that trailer park, along with the park on 27, does not resemble any trailer parks in Fort Wayne.
Right.
I've driven around Fort Wayne enough that I know there's trailer parks that have been in Fort Wayne in the 50s and have units that are 1950 units that are in immaculate shape. You don't see a trailer park like that. Bluffton had the same encounter with Nick.
No, Huntington.
I thought it was Bluffton. Oh.
It's Huntington.
And did they Yeah. Did they take care of it? Or?
No. He has 3 parks.
Over there also?
Two here and one in Huntington, and the state health board inspector told me that they're the 3 worst he's ever seen in the state of Indiana.
Well, I don't understand how he's
But yet,
allowed to do that.
somehow or another, he's operating above board and enough that he can keep it going. You're awful
Well,
quiet, Tim.
maybe if we approach it like we are with homes, I'll go out there and every vacant trailer that's sitting there, I know one that I can start out with right away, because if he says every trailer out there can be lived in, they'd have to move 40 tires in this one to get into it. I mean, I've taken pictures of it. I mean, if we go out as a city entity and smack every trailer he's got in there as a dilapidated trailer and ask him what he's going to do about it, I mean, is that an approach, Tim?
You can try it. I mean, you have 2 issues here. The first is enforcement, and the only way you're going to probably get something done is to go to court. The second is, if you do that and you're successful, you're removing people that are living there now. Where do they go? And that's the problem.
They're not living in the empty ones, right? Uh-uh.
Yeah,
I mean, there's some windows out in the doors. Have you been
Yeah. Oh,
if there's,
I understand.
let's say there's 50 mobile homes in there, I bet there's not people living in more than 10 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, the majority of them are empty.
It'd be nice to just go through there with an excavator and clean it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a thing. It's a shame.
Well, Kurt, let's get together and we'll do some homework and we'll try to get Jessica involved a little more again and see.
There is a state agency, and I don't know if they can, if they've inspected it and they say he meets the minimum requirements, then they won't do anything. But if he doesn't, then they have some recourse that they can put some pressure on him to clean it up.
What if he meets the minimum requirements for all those trailers sitting there that are empty? Can
That's what I'm
make him get rid of those? He can...
The state should be able to step in and say that should be taken out unless he can convince them that it's something that he can rehabilitate and make it usable. Apparently, that's what he's done.
Yeah.
I think where I get into problem as far as trying to enforce this is I have homes around in the perimeter that I tell these people, hey, you've got to clean your property up. It's terrible. And then they point to the trailer park. Don't pick on me, go there. And they're right. And they just kind of shoot me down immediately. Of course, I could be like the police and say, I got you now, I'll get them later.
All right, I have nothing else. Phyllis, you have anything? Jim? Look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. We're adjourned until 7:30 when council starts.
Wow.
It doesn't happen often.
Here comes
You got
Terry.
that?
Terry's got an idea. Hey, thank you for your volunteer work that
Yeah,
you
it won't
did
work
here.
out this time. It's Moselle facility, this one on us.
Well, they're basically saying that, I think it may not affect us as much as other communities, because apparently some communities say that Trader City is something that
Oh, okay. Well, then I learned something. I learned something from